And my response is, okay, then they should just kill the children that they can't afford. They can't do that. You can't kill a child. Precisely, that's my point. You don't solve problems with your budget by offing your kids. And that's exactly the question here. And people say, well, that's one thing for a child that's born, but what not the unborn? That's not a human being. Okay, so now we see what the real issue is. The real issue is, what is the unborn? Is the unborn an example of a valuable human being or not? That's the question that needs to be answered. And this is why it stands to reason, Todd, our approach is maybe to some people overly simplistic, but it really, I think, deals with the broad number of objections or concerns in this debate. One question needs to be answered to answer the issue, and that is, what is the unborn? And if the unborn is not a human being, no problem. If it is, then no excuse. That's the issue, including this excuse.
Greg Kokel is our guest. We're responding to arguments for abortion rights during this hour of Issues, etc. He's president of Stand to Reason, based in Signal Hill, and he's also co-author of the book, Relativism, Feet Firmly Planted in Mid-Air. Now,
I am woman, hear me roar, in numbers too big to ignore, and I know too much to go.
Don't mess with women!
It is our decision, not theirs.
I hope John Ashcroft is listening. He's just over there, you know, because we are a true threat to his vision of America.
So keep the faith.
I'm Senator Barbara Boxer, and I'm pro-choice.
Keep your laws off my body. Keep your laws.
well, it was from the pro-choice rally at the 30th anniversary of Roe v. Wade. We're responding to arguments for abortion rights. Greg Kokel is our guest, president of Stand to Reason, based in Signal Hill, California, author of the book Relativism, Feet Firmly Planted in Mid-Air, co-author of that book. Greg, if we curtail abortion legally, or if we overturned Roe v. Wade, are we going to go back to the black market abortion, the back alley, and the coat hanger? That's the argument often made.
Yeah, well, if we did do that, Todd, these kind of challenges can be dealt with at a number of different levels, just like the last one. And if we did go back to that time, let's just say we did, it wouldn't be very far back. And what I mean by that is that though many claim that there are tens of thousands of people that died as a result of back alley abortions before Roe versus Wade, Bernard Nathanson of the formerly of the National Abortion Rights Action League, NARAL, and the head of one of the largest abortion clinics in New York City at the time, and an atheist, by the way. He became a pro-lifer even while he was an atheist after he realized the terrible moral harm he'd done in destroying all of these children. But he said, we made up those statistics. We knew that they would have an impact on people, and we just made them up out of thin air. The closest numbers that we have, or the most accurate numbers that we have, are from the Center of Disease Control, and these the CDC says there was a negligible amount. I mean, in the hundreds, maybe 1,000. Now, I don't mean to suggest that we can just dismiss those hundreds of lives that were lost as a result of people trying to have illegal abortions, but I first want to make the point that by making abortion illegal, we are not going to drive tens of thousands of people into the black market. It didn't happen before abortion was legal, and it won't happen if abortion becomes illegal now. Secondly, as one person has noted, there are lots of doctors with lots of skill and lots of abortion equipment around right now, so that if abortion was made illegal, all that equipment still exists. It isn't like we're going to have to go back to the dark ages of coat hangers. If you're going to get an illegal abortion, the illegal abortion is going to be able to be performed with good equipment, not with coat hangers. And so this is largely an emotional appeal to get people really upset as they think of this terrible fate that women are forced into. But this brings me to the third point, and I think this is, in a sense, more important, that women are not going to be forced into having dangerous back alley illegal abortions. Women are adults. They can make their choices without being forced when it comes to childbearing. There are adoption facilities all over the country that will allow a woman who doesn't want to keep the baby for whatever reason to give that baby up to families that will love that child. She's not forced to take the life of that child. If she takes the life of that child, she's making a personal decision as an adult, autonomous human being. The irony is that this kind of argument patronizes women. It's as if women can't help themselves. They're children. They're they're victims of their circumstances, and we have to protect them. We have to provide ways to kill their children because they just can't control themselves if they happen to face a pregnancy that they don't want. The fact is, if the unborn is in fact a human being that is valuable and ought to be protected, and we're back to our only one question again, then why would it seem reasonable to allow women to more easily kill those children? Because if we didn't, then they might try to kill those children in a way that would bring some harm to themselves. I mean, we don't make bank robbery legal because, golly gee, there's a risk to bank robbers. You know, if you make it illegal, then they might get shot at when they try to rob the bank. And by the same token, and of course, we're presuming here, and we haven't really covered this issue yet, Todd, but I'm presuming the unborn is a valuable human being that ought to be protected. If it is, then it seems to me that because some women might make foolish choices in the way that they destroy their child and bring harm to themselves, that doesn't become an argument for legalizing them destroying their own offspring.
All right, then make the case in the midst of responding to these arguments with 2 minutes. Before we go to this break, Greg, make the case surrounding that central point, really the only relevant point when it comes to the debate of who is the unborn. 2 minutes.
Well, yeah, what is it? So, okay, let's see. I heard the quote here, keep your laws off my body. Is their body the only thing that's in question? Well, let's see. What's happening in there, that thing that you want to abort? Is it alive? Well, we don't know. Well, wait a minute. Is it growing? Yes, it's growing. Well, if it's growing, it's alive, okay? This is the result of intercourse between two human beings, right? Yes. This is called reproduction, yes. What kind of being do two human beings reproduce? All creatures reproduce after their own kind. Cats have kittens, dogs have puppies, fish have guppies, people have yuppies, that kind of thing. In other words, if mom and dad have gotten together and had intercourse and are reproducing a living thing inside of mom, that living thing is just like mom, and that is another human being. And it ain't mom, by the way. We know it isn't because mom has a certain genetic fingerprint and the baby has a different. That thing growing in there has a different genetic fingerprint. Let's face it, the thing growing in there is a different living human being from mom. And you know what, Todd? Everybody knows that.
And I would also just add to that, that's where everybody came from ultimately.
Absolutely.
All of us were one of them once.
Yes, we asked the question, were you ever an unborn child? Were you the one that, sat on your mother's kidney or kicked her in the ribs and, put her through all that turmoil for 9 months before you were born? And, of course, this is common sense. Of course it was you.
Let's take a break here.
You're listening to Issues, Etc.
Noted author and Christian apologist Gretchen Passantino on why you should support Issues, Etc.
Even though I live in Southern California and we've got several stations totally dedicated to what they call Christian programming, I make it a habit not to listen regularly to Christian radio. I turned on one of my local stations the other day and heard about an exorcist casting multiple demons out of a good Christian. Listened a little while ago and heard a whole panel of people on another Christian station talking about how the rebuilding of the temple in Jerusalem was going to usher in the second coming of Jesus Christ. I just can't handle all that kind of stuff. But you know what I really like? The Christian programming that I like to listen to is Issues, Etc.
Greg, how do you respond to someone who says, look, the Bible, for you Christians who happen to be pro-life, not all pro-lifers are Christian, but for you Christians, the Bible is conspicuously silent on abortion. You can look up in the concordance and you won't find the word abortion in there. Your response?
Well, the Bible doesn't say anything about gay bashing either, for goodness sake. It doesn't provide a case against slavery. It doesn't